Hey guys! Today we're gonna watch this exciting story about Noah. This pretty girl is having a blast swiping through guys' photos on a dating app. Suddenly, she gets a call from one of the guys she's going to meet. But the long-awaited date with Chad turns out to be quite awkward. Chad shows up acting indifferent and brings leftovers from their dinner. His weird behavior makes Noah really uncomfortable. In the end, Noah openly tells Chad that she's not satisfied with the date and doesn't want to repeat it. But hey, her luck seems to be turning around. At the supermarket, a random guy greets Noah out of the blue. They have a great chat, and Noah even gives him her phone number right away. Shortly after, Noah receives a message from this guy, whose name turns out to be Steve. Steve invites Noah to meet up at a nightclub, and Noah eventually agrees. At the nightclub, Steve reveals that he's a plastic surgeon. Once the atmosphere is relaxed, Noah opens up about her father's death and her strained relationship with her mother. However, Noah is puzzled as to why Steve doesn't have any social media accounts. Steve instead invites Noah to his place to see his life firsthand. So, Noah invites Steve back to her apartment, and they spend the night together. During breakfast, Steve asks Noah, "Hey, have you told anyone about me?" Noah replies that she has told Molly, her best friend. It seems like Steve really likes Noah. He suggests a surprise outing for them. Noah is thrilled, hoping this adventure will help her shake off the loneliness she's been feeling. However, Molly remains concerned, reminding Noah to always inform her whereabouts, especially when with new people. Noah tries to reassure Molly by sending her a photo of the handsome and kind Steve. Noah and Steve start their outing, but when Noah tries to inform Molly of their destination, she realizes they're out of network reach. As they drive further, they end up at a gloomy grand house. Noah starts feeling uneasy, but Steve still offers her a drink. After Noah drinks it, she suddenly loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds herself tied up in a strange and eerie room. In front of her, Steve is interrogating her. When Noah tried to resist, Steve suddenly claimed he wouldn't harm her anymore. But it turned out Steve had a more horrifying intention. He wanted to sell Noah's flesh to wealthy individuals who enjoyed fresh human meat. To Steve, Noah was just a commodity, and all he cared about was the freshness of her flesh. Steve mentioned he would keep Noah alive, even after cutting her flesh, to maximize his profit. He also threatened Noah that if she dared to fight back, Noah tried to resist, but because her hands were tied, she was helpless. After that, Steve tried to calm Noah down, asking her to just obey him. He explained that Noah wouldn't see anyone else except him, because he was the only one in the room. Meanwhile, Molly was extremely anxious as she hadn't heard from Noah. She sent a message, asking Noah to call her. Unfortunately, the message only reached Noah when the network came back. Molly felt relieved when she received a photo of a waterfall from Noah's phone. While Noah was screaming in her room, suddenly she heard another girl's voice who had also been kidnapped. The girl, named Penny, mentioned that no one would hear Noah because she was alone and no one checked on her. Penny also revealed that she was a victim of Steve and that there was another girl who was gradually losing her mind as her flesh was being consumed bit by bit. Molly grew suspicious of the waterfall photo sent by Noah, and upon checking on Google, she discovered it was just a random image. Panic set in as Molly attempted to call Noah but received no response. Meanwhile, in another location, Steve was indulging in a macabre dance while slicing human flesh for shipment. Afterwards he fed Noah, but she requested to take a shower. When Steve loosened her restraints, Noah tried to escape, only to be captured again by Steve. Now Noah finds herself on the operating table, with Steve declaring his intent to dissect her body without pain, claiming to be a skilled and professional surgeon. Molly was quick to head to a nightclub to seek help from her friend Paul. She wanted Paul to assist in tracking down the identity of the man with Noah, as Noah had used her credit card to pay. Eventually, Molly obtained the man's address and promptly made her way there. Before entering, Molly asked Paul to come to the address in case anything happened to her. Later, Molly entered Steve's house and immediately told his wife, and that she suspected her husband was cheating with Noah, who suddenly disappeared. And was shocked, but she was sure her husband did nothing wrong. Then, suddenly Steve came home, and Molly introduced herself as Noah's friend and asked about Noah's whereabouts. But Steve said he didn't know Noah at all. When Molly was about to leave, she called Noah and suddenly Noah's phone rang in Steve's pocket. Then out of nowhere and came from behind Molly and hit her on the head. Finally, Molly was locked underground. So, now it's Steve's turn to turn the tables on Noah. Steve invited Noah for lunch, but his real intention was for Noah to taste the fresh human meat he sold to his customers. Then Noah asked Steve when he first tasted human flesh, and Steve shared that he had been interested in human flesh since he was 18 years old, initially keeping it a secret but discovering that many others were also interested. Steve also mentioned that he preferred female flesh because it tasted better and had a higher demand. After that, Steve cooked the meat in front of Noah and instructed Noah to taste it. Noah asked whose flesh it was, but Steve reassured Noah that it wasn't Noah's flesh and told Noah to relax. Steve also mentioned that the price of the meal was $30,000. After Steve and Noah finished eating, Steve took Noah back to their room. Meanwhile, Steve went to Molly and also cut up his meat. During that time, Noah tried to vomit the food. They continued to chat with Penny, their close friend, and expressed a desire to meet up with Penny. However, Penny mentioned that she had been confined for a long time. Eventually, Noah pretended to like Steve in order to get closer to him and escape the next day. When Steve arrived, he brought a dress for Noah to wear because he wanted to invite Noah for dinner again. Noah wore the dress and waited for Steve. When Steve arrived, he handcuffed Noah so they couldn't escape. After Steve and Noah finished eating, Steve took Noah back to their room. Meanwhile, Steve went to Molly and also cut his meat. At that moment, Noah tried to throw up the food. They continued chatting with Penny, their close friend, and expressed a desire to meet up with Penny. However, Penny revealed she had been confined for a long time. Eventually, Noah pretended to like Steve in order to get closer to him and plan an escape for the next day. When Steve arrived, he brought a dress for Noah to wear because he wanted to invite Noah for dinner again. Noah wore the dress and waited for Steve. When Steve arrived, he shackled Noah to prevent any escape. Then they returned to the dining table to finish their meal. Noah continued to follow Steve and pretended to like him. Noah told Steve it was the first time someone cooked for them and treated them like this. Steve was pleased to hear that and said he wanted Noah to feel special. Suddenly, Noah cried and told Steve that they were crying because their attention was disrupted, and they had many feelings inside. Steve told Noah not to worry because they were different, and that's why he treated Noah differently from other girls. Then they danced together and grew closer until they eventually went to Steve's room. There, Noah convinced Steve that they liked him, just to seize the opportunity to escape. Noah successfully hit Steve in the face while he was putting toothpaste in his eyes. Noah immediately fled from the room and locked the door. They quickly grabbed the keys to unlock the doors for the other imprisoned girls. Finally, Noah met Molly and Penny, and they promptly escaped from there. While Noah was escaping, Steve suddenly broke down the door of the room and immediately searched for Penny, who was hiding. But before he could approach Penny, Noah and their friends launched an attack on Steve, hitting him until they were able to overpower him. After that, they ran out of the house towards the forest. However, Steve continued to pursue them with a pistol. Steve chased them relentlessly until he eventually discovered their location in the forest. Noah and their friends hid, but Steve still found them. As Steve was about to shoot Noah, Molly suddenly appeared. Steve aimed his gun at Molly, but before he could shoot, Noah and their friends launched a surprise attack from behind and ultimately succeeded in killing Steve. Suddenly, Anne appeared and pretended to be a victim as well. She told Noah that she was also kidnapped. But then Anne suddenly attacked Noah. Luckily, Molly arrived and helped Noah to fend off Anne. Finally, after all the chaos, Noah, Molly, and their friends were able to sit under a tree to rest. They were able to break free from all the suffering they had endured.